Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the RMTV Women's Podcast. This is episode 4 of the new season. Coming to you live, well, not live, but Monday evening. How's your Monday going so far, Amy? How was work? Are we off to a good start to the week?
Well, you know what? I feel like I've gotten to the point now where every week is the same.
Yeah,
Good, no better, just this constant state of work.
yeah, it's
Um,
fun, isn't
so
it?
yeah, I don't feel like I've brought enough positive vibe. It's a Monday. Mondays are always crap, let's be honest.
Yeah,
But even worse after this weekend. Oh well, we didn't lose. Sorry, that's really negative of me. But I feel like my Monday would have been significantly better had we have won yesterday.
yeah. I mean, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose we'll just go straight into yesterday's game then. Obviously, I feel like with Liverpool this season, we are very much like attack, attack, attack. First 15, 20 minutes, we come out all guns blazing, and then it's kind of like we go from here to here, and it
Yeah.
just kind of plateaus, and you have moments where you let the opposition get back into the game. That's exactly what happened at the derby last week. And I feel like that happened in moments yesterday where it was just kind of like we were in control, but then we just kind of allowed West Ham to get back into it, which ultimately ends up, with them leveling, even though it was very, very late on. But I
Yeah.
kind of just feel like it is kind of like opening 20 minutes, we look amazing. It was the same
Mm-hmm.
with Aston Villa. Like, you know, there was, I think Rachel Daly could have equalised, or I think it might have been the
Yeah.
so like clearance off the line or something like that. I can't quite remember which moment, but like you can't just, and obviously opposition teams are gonna have their moments in the game. Like that's just a given. You can't be
Yeah.
100% for the full 90 minutes. But I just feel like we kind of need to assess that and look at those and then think, oh well, why is that happening? Like, do we kind of not need to come out all guns blazing and kind of just like build up to it?
Mm.
Or, is that just gonna be like what is gonna happen for the remainder of the season? I'm not sure if you feel the same.
I think it's really tough because it's that balance of kind of you're obviously going to go through like peaks and troughs throughout the game, especially when it comes to like possession and then the attacking and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm enjoying us coming out the blocks early because for so many seasons we've come out the box really slow, and that's allowed the opposition to come on and get an early goal or put some really early pressure on. So I'm enjoying that, and I think there's been in 2 games now we've had a couple of chances early doors, but then I see your point of we have those chances and then it kind of deflates a little bit, and then the
Yeah.
other team gets back into the game. But what was interesting about the game yesterday is that it felt like majority of the game till about the 65th to 70th minute we were in control, and we had most of the possession. We were moving the ball really fast. Sorry, there was a lot of intensity, and it felt like we were in control. And I think that's maybe what makes it a little bit more difficult that they scored in like the 94th minute, because it felt like because we were in control of the game for so long, it was literally just a case of seeing this game out and seeing or just making sure that we're defending for our lives. And I think it's it's really difficult, and it's really hard to attribute why. I just think, for one, give credit to West Ham where it's due. They started playing the ball really well, and they started using the wings to really attack and get those dangerous balls into the box. They started winning a lot of corners and things like that. So they had that ammunition to then trouble Lawsy, who made quite a few good saves as well.
Yeah.
Um, it did seem to like switch when there were substitutions made, and I don't necessarily think any of the substitutions were not good when they came on. I just you could sense that change in intensity, and I think whenever you bring players on it, there's always a couple of minutes of that embedding time, get them to touch the ball a few times, feel a little bit more familiar with possession and things like that. But
Yeah.
it did feel like when Cavisto came off, I can't remember who else it was who come off. Who come off in Yeah, no, Cavisto and Who
Who
was it
did,
that came on?
who did Matthews come on for?
Matthews came on for Cavisto in defence, and Enderby come on for can't remember. Anyways, the two substitutions that we made, um, Yana came on up top, so it must have been someone I can't remember. But those substitutions happened, and as I said, I don't think they necessarily played badly at all. I just think they found it quite hard to get into the game.
Yeah.
And it did just feel like the intensity dropped. Maybe a couple of tired legs had started to come into play once we get to that, obviously the latter end of the game. But yeah, it's a tough one to take. I think whenever the opposition scores like in injury time, that's always really tough because you're literally like hanging on, and they were applying so much pressure. It was like ball into the box after again and again and again. But yeah, it's really tough. But you know what? I look at the league table, and 7 points from 4 games is honestly, we would have been crying out for this last season. So I feel like when you try and put it into perspective, God, if that's the way this season's gonna go, like that's bang on. And I think what seems to be the aim is to be the best of the rest in that middle sort of ground. And I think if we continue to push and continue to play the way that we've shown we can play over the first couple of games, I think there's nothing saying that we can't do that. But I do think maybe it was a bit of a wake-up call yesterday as to how tough this can really be. I mean, obviously the derby, anything can happen in that, so that's kind of a bit of an anomaly game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But with this one, I think it's a bit of a wake-up call, and hopefully the one that's going to be well received, and we go again after the international break and try and put it right.
Yeah, I think kind of touching on the point of like substitutions wise, I think yesterday and the derby last week, like the subs that we did make just kind of were either maybe made at the wrong time or like you said, just don't have enough initial impact. And it's kind of in my eyes, I think, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So if that starting 11 were, coping well and creating chances and defending well, I think maybe taking like Matthews off for Covisto off for Matthews, it's not a like for like change.
No.
So you then you shuffling people about. I think it was Flint that came off for Enderby.
Yes, that's it. For Daniel, sorry.
For Daniels, and then
That's it.
who for Enderby, but like Enderby coming on is that little spark. She's quick.
Yes.
She chases after the ball. Like she just makes things happen. And I think that's kind of like what like Matt Beard sees in his head is that, well, they're flagging, so I'll put someone on who's going to be full of energy. But then at the same time, it doesn't always work out that way. And West Ham did have the better end to the game. So it's like, well, at the derby, he made 4 subs in one go, and we turned to each other and was like,
Wow.
is that right? Is that the right thing to do? You don't know. We're not the manager, but from watching the game, you kind of think, well, if they don't need to come off, don't bring them off. If it's fine,
Especially with international break coming up, it's not like you're having to rest them for another league game.
Yeah, and it's like a few of them don't go away on internationals, so it's like I'm not sure. I mean, it's a tough job to have being a football manager. It's a very tough job to have, and obviously in that moment, Matt Beard's just thinking of what he thinks is going to be best in terms of that game.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it's kind of like, well, just leave it, just don't do anything with it, or maybe don't make your changes too early, kind of thing.
It's a really fine line, isn't it? And we can sit here in like retrospect and say, oh well, could have done this, could have done that. Like those players could have come on and they could have scored like 2 or 3 more goals, and then we'd all be here like, bang on. Do you know what I mean? Like it's such a
great subs, blah, blah,
yeah, exactly. It can really, really go one way or another, and it's how those players turn up on the day, and then how the other team then reacts to those players coming on. I think if we break it down into like players on the pitch on the day, obviously Herbinger gets the goal. Fantastic goal again. Honestly, she's so impressive and seems to be like getting better every week that passes. Also as well, like first start for Natasha Flint. I think she struggled. I didn't think she was getting she was in like the right places, but then it kind of wasn't really falling. And then
Yeah,
you could have thought maybe at some time she could have come back a little bit deeper. And it felt like Roman Hogg and her were doing the same thing, kind of at the same place, if that makes
yeah,
sense. And it felt like they were both offering the same thing. So that's where maybe sometimes it's a little bit more complimentary if you have one of those two and then a Missy Bo Kearns who breaks the lines a little bit more and is not
yeah,
as much of like an aerial kind of player. Or you have an Enderby, like you said, who like runs and attacks their back line and tries to run through on goal, things like that.
yeah.
So that's obviously another call that people can kind of talk about as well. But I did think they were kind of occupying the same role. I thought Roman Hard was a little bit better today, like not today, yesterday than she did at the derby, a little bit more
Still
relaxed.
think
And
she can't see in that mask.
yeah, I'm convinced she can't see. No. She looked a little bit better. She was coming a little bit deeper and picking up the ball.
And
Um,
also she hasn't had a lot of game time, so she has literally only had those minutes in the derby. So like,
yeah, to
you know,
try and adjust.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's tough. It's really games like that are so hard to analyze because you go from like being on top for like 60 minutes to then that last 20 minutes it all like flying out the window.
yeah.
Do you know what
And
I mean?
you could kind of sense, couldn't you, that like something was gonna happen, and you didn't know whether it was
Oh yeah.
a goal for us or a goal for them. I mean, Missy Buchanan's chance right towards the end, like
Yeah.
she has got to do better in that moment, and I think she knows that herself, or she will.
We hit the crossbar as well at some was it Kerry
Yeah,
Holland?
we hit the crossbar twice, Holland,
Yeah.
and I want to say it was Gemma Bonner at the near post from like a corner.
Yeah.
So again, there's such fine margins. You could be 3-0 up at one point. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
we're sitting here being quite like, oh well, this should have been different.
Yeah.
Should have been different, but you literally could have been 3-0 up at one stage. It's the same in the
Yeah.
derby. You could have been 2-0 up at one stage because Keynes' goal should have been allowed, and then Holland
Yeah.
bar a couple of minutes later. So it's like, you've got to
Coulda,
look
shoulda, woulda.
exactly, and like I said before, 7 points on the board
Yeah.
at this stage of the season it's not terrible, and it's
And you look at who we've played as well.
yeah,
Like
like played
look
some
at who
good
we've
teams.
played.
You've done Arsenal away and you've done West Ham away.
Yeah,
So
and West Ham arguably trying as well to be the best of the rest of the season alongside us. So
100%, yeah. So
it's hard.
it does, and it does put us in a good position moving forward. Like you've got to be happy with who you've taken points off. I mean, who've we got next?
Yeah,
We've got Leicester next after the
big
instant.
game.
It's a huge game considering how well both of us have started this season. So unless there's always a huge game anyways, like you said, they're one of the teams that are always in and around kind of where we're finishing. So
That one's going to be really interesting because the way I like see it is obviously Leicester really struggled last season and were in that like in and amongst that relegation battle. And obviously they've picked up 7 points in four, exactly the same as us. And those points towards the end of the season are going to be so vital. And you wonder who's going to be cut short because obviously there's a couple of teams at the bottom of the table already with very few points. Who are they going to be caught out just because they haven't started as fast? Do you know what I mean? Because I think that season when we got relegated, we did not pick up the points early enough, and that left us all the way on the back foot. And to see, like, I can imagine a lot of people again probably thought Leicester were going to be near the bottom of the table come the end of the season, but because they've started so well, that must put the other teams under a bit of pressure,
yeah,
thinking, "Oh my goodness, these teams who we were expecting to be down there are already." Well, Leicester were at the top of the table last weekend. You know what I mean? It's such a fine line at the minute. It really is.
and it can literally change like any
Yeah.
second, like game by game. Like look at Arsenal with Bristol yesterday. Like
Yeah.
it took two really good Katie McCabe goals for them to win that game. So it's like these are
Yeah.
you know I think obviously as the season goes on, the likes of your Arsenals and your Chelseas and your Man Cities and your even like Uniteds, they do like kind of run away with it at some point because
Yeah, they get stronger. Yeah.
that's just a testament to like their squad and stuff. But it's like you said, like if you know you pick up as many points as you possibly can, and you're opening 4 or 5 games because
Mm.
I think once you get to the other side of Christmas, you don't have that many games left.
No,
It's only a 22 game season. It's very short. So yeah, I think
it's tough.
it's tough. It is tough, and it's I don't know. I think just because you have so much like you look at our team now and you just have so much like hope for them just because of what you've
Yeah,
seen from them that
yeah,
you literally just want to like do well in every single game, and there's just those little moments, there's fine margins like we've said that
yeah,
just decided, but I've no doubt that's something that like everyone at the club kind of looks at and has gone, oh, we need to tweak this, we need to tweak that when we come back.
yeah. You'd like to think so, anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a short season, but it's also like a long season. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you're
It's
sat here
pretty
thinking now,
spaced
there's yeah, when you're sat here thinking now, oh, there's so many games to go, but you're right. As soon as the Christmas turns, there's not really like that many games to go until
out.
was it end of May that it stops or something like that.
Yeah,
It's you're right though, and I feel like we've alluded this like the last couple of podcasts. Like it doesn't it feels a bit more different this year, like the caliber of players that we've brought in and the players that have stepped up, like Lawsy, for example, with that pressure off Tegan Micah joining. Sorry, with the pressure on from Tegan Micah joining, she's like
yeah,
stepped up massively. And I also think Gemma Bonner has as well. Like she's been pivotal in that defense the last couple of weeks.
100%.
And with Neve Fahy out, who would be in contention for that role as well, I think he's given Matt Beard a really he's given Matt Beard a really big problem in a way, or like really big question to answer as to like she's really cemented herself in that back four. So when Nifahi gets fit again, there's going to be a real question there as to who starts, and I think that's happened across the pitch a lot. I
Yeah,
mean, you see on the weekend, Missy Bokern's on the bench. How many times do you see that? Not very often. And yeah, it's competitive, and I think that's what is helping us because you have a full bench there of players that can come on and make a difference and be like a bit of a game changer. As well as all the quality you have on the pitch, like Fuka as well. There's not many times she's going to be out of a game, is it? And so it's tough, but I definitely think as a whole, our defense has massively improved so far this season, massively.
100%.
And the engine is starting to build in that midfield with Fuka, Hobinger, and Holland. That's a really, really strong midfield. And it feels like that could be one of the midfields of the WSL at the minute. It's super
Yeah,
strong, it's super talented.
and I think that's probably why he has pushed Buchanan's up a little bit because he's kind of probably looking at it and
Yeah,
going,
he's realised.
where am I putting her? Like, I
Yeah.
can't justify taking any of those three out.
No.
So where do I put her? And I think she has really thrived in that new role up front. Like she is doing really, really well. I think she like enjoys
Mm.
being that far up the pitch as well. Because she does score, she just creates opportunities, and I think
She does. And she seems to be a bit more free flowing up there. A
yeah,
little bit more like running in and breaking the lines kind of thing.
yeah, 100%. So I completely agree with like in terms of like if the spine of the team like is looking good.
Yes.
Obviously, it's a little bit of a mixture up front, and we'll obviously find like the right one at some point. I think once Roman Hart
Well,
proper settles down, she's going to be amazing.
Well, you've got Leanne Kiernan to come back and
Yeah,
Shanice well,
yeah,
and we forget about Mel Lawley. She could have
yeah.
maybe gone and made an impact this weekend. So many different things to choose from, but that's a
Yeah.
really good problem to have.
It is. It's a great problem to have.
Yes.
Great problem to have for us. It's not a good problem to have for Matt Beard because
Yes.
it makes
I'd
us.
rather not make that decision.
Yeah, but I think can we just talk about the fact that there's another international break already?
A CBA. I'm sorry, a
Literally
CBA.
been 4 games, and there's an international break, and there was an international break literally the week before the season begins. How many times you have to have someone play an international game? I just don't understand it.
No, me either, mate.
It
Me
Matt,
either, mate.
yeah, Matt Beard said it in his press conference against. I want to say it was before the Arsenal game or maybe the Villa game. He literally
Mm.
said they play too much football. Women's players play too much football now. I think across the board, you look at men's players, they play far too much football, but
Why injuries crop up?
this is why injuries happen. Like Roman Hag literally doesn't break her nose if she doesn't have to play in that international break before.
Yeah.
And their season's looking completely different. Do you know what I mean? Like I just don't get it. I just don't see the point unless there's something riding on it. But
Well, exactly. But it's Nations League for a lot of them this time, so obviously it is more of
yeah,
a competitive competition. I can't remember what it was the time before the league started.
did
Was it
it?
just
Did it?
friendlies?
I think so. I don't
But
know.
yeah, anyways, obviously at least there's a little bit of something riding on, as you said, riding on it this time. But I
Yeah,
agree. I agree. It's just a bit much. Let the season get into its flow, and
yeah.
then yeah, not ideal.
Oh well.
Oh well, we'll survive.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. But yeah, I think that's everything. There wasn't much this week other than the games. I mean, it's only Monday, so something could happen, but
Yeah.
hopefully not. But yeah. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week with a new podcast. I'm not sure what the agenda will be. Might just do like a little fun Q&A or something.
Yeah.
See what
Why
happens.
not?
Why not? But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Remember to like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you all next time with a new podcast.
Bye.
Bye.